Srivasadi Gaurava. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Canto 4, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 22, text 49. Vainyastu duryo mahatam.
Vainyastu
Sto duryo mahatam
Samsthityadhyatma shikshaya.
samsthityadhyatma
atma shikshayah
Apta kamam ivatmanam.
aptakamam
atkamam ivatmanam
ivatmanam
Mena atmani avasthita.
meni
meni
atmani avastitah.
avastitah.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Amongst great personalities, Mahārāja Pṛthu was the chief by virtue of his fixed position in relation to spiritual enlightenment. He remained satisfied as one who has achieved all success in spiritual understanding. Remaining fixed in devotional service gives one the utmost in self-satisfaction. Actually, self-satisfaction can be achieved only by pure devotees who have no desire other than to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to desire, he is fully satisfied with himself. Similarly, a devotee who has no desire other than to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead is as self-satisfied as the Supreme Lord. Everyone is hankering after peace of mind and self-satisfaction, but these can only be achieved by becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. So Prabhupada is helping us understand. We are looking for inner peace. You say, I want peace. I want to connect to my inner self. Yeah. So Prabhupada is helping us understand that we can find this inner peace only when we become pure devotee. Pure devotee means no other desire rather than pleasing Krishna. So Krishna is always, he is Atmaram. Krishna is always happy, always satisfied. There's nothing lacking in him that he needs something to make him feel happy. He's self-satisfied. So similarly, when a living entity becomes a pure devotee, he becomes also self-satisfied like the Lord. He becomes peaceful. What happens is we have so many desires. We have desire to control. We have desire to enjoy. Because we have desire to enjoy, we desire to control the situation or people in a particular way. And if it doesn't go the way we had imagined or planned or wanted, then our peace of mind gets broken. So it's our desire to enjoy separate from Krishna, which gives us this restlessness. So Prabhupada is telling us that if really one wants peace of mind, self-satisfaction, become a pure devotee of the Lord. King Pṛthu's statements in previous verses regarding his vast knowledge and perfect devotional service are justified here, for he is considered best amongst all Mahatmas. In Bhagavad Gita 9:13, Krishna speaks of Mahatmas in this way. Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritim ashritaha bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pṛtha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So Mahatma, Krishna is saying, who are the Mahatmas? We may have different ideas or definitions of Mahatma, but Krishna is telling us who is a Mahatma, is the pure devotee. they are fully engaged in devotional service, means no other desire, pure devotee, only desire to please Krishna. And they are under the protection of the spiritual energy. They are not under the clutches of material energy as we are. We are bound by the modes of nature, but the pure devotee is not bound by the modes of nature. He's liberated. See, not deluded, means no more in the illusion of this material world. He's completely understood his position. He's completely understood that he has a loving relationship with Krishna. And because of that, fully engaged in devotional service. So because the pure devotee has the knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and that the devotee has an eternal loving relationship with him, he's fully engaged in devotional service. And Krishna is calling such a pure devotee a Mahatma. The Mahatmas are not under the clutches of the illusory energy, but are under the protection of the spiritual energy. So if we want liberation, we become a pure devotee, and that's immediately liberation. Because of this, the real Mahatma is always engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Pṛthu Maharaj exhibited all the symptoms of a Mahatma. Therefore, he is mentioned in this verse as Duryo Mahatam, best of the Mahatmas. So Pṛthu Maharaj is being called the Mahatma because he also has the qualities of a Mahatma. He's exhibiting those qualities. It's not they're just giving him a title just like that. In modern day, we may give some title to somebody to make them happy, to make them feel important. But here, Pṛthu Maharaj really has these qualities. Any questions or comments?
No, all okay.
Yeah, all okay.
Karmani cha yatha kalam.
Karmani cha yatha kalam.
Yatha desham yatha balam.
Yatha desham
Yatha desham yatha balam.
Yathochitam yatha vittam.
Yathochitam
Yatho uchitam yatha vittam.
Akarod brahma satkrit. Akarod brahma satkritam.
Akrot Brahma
Akarod brahma satkritam.
Being self-satisfied, Maharaj Pṛthu executed his duties as perfectly as possible according to the time and his situation, strength, and financial position. His only aim in all his activities was to satisfy the absolute truth. In this way, he duly acted. So in the previous verse, we heard Krishna is saying who's a Mahatma. So who is Krishna calling a Mahatma?
Pure devotee.
Yes, thank you. Pṛthu Maharaj was a responsible monarch and he had to execute the duties of a Kshatriya, a king, and a devotee at the same time. So we can see that Krishna is not saying if one is a pure devotee, because in the previous verse they're calling him a Mahatma, no? So it's not that a Mahatma has to be sannyasi, renounced order of life. Here, Pṛthu Maharaj, he's a Mahatma, pure devotee, and he's a king. He's the emperor of the world. So imagine how much responsibility he has, how much work he has to do, management and administration, fighting, protecting, so many various other duties. I wouldn't even know. So this is what Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita, that to Arjuna, you do your duty, and do it for my satisfaction. And here Pṛthu Maharaj is doing that. His only aim in all his activities was to satisfy the absolute truth. We can see he's doing his duty as perfectly as possible according to the time and his situation. So not in a fanatical way. We may get carried away and, but we need to adjust according to time, place, circumstance. But the aim is always to satisfy Krishna. according to his strength, according to his financial position. So being self-aware, showing that he's self-aware, self-conscious, and that's how he is Krishna conscious. So some practical lesson to learn from Pṛthu Maharaj also of how we need to be self-aware. Being perfect in the Lord's devotional service, he could execute his prescribed duties with complete perfection, as befitted the time and circumstance, and his financial strength and personal ability. In this regard, the word karmani in this verse is significant. Pṛthu Maharaj's activities were not ordinary, for they were in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all the activities which are done for pleasure of Krishna, they are spiritual activities. They don't give karma because they are being done for pleasure of Krishna. You know, we are doing activity, oh, I will do this and I will enjoy it this way. I will get maybe name, I will get fame, I'll get adoration, I'll get worship, I'll get money, I'll get beauty, I'll get, and then I will enjoy so much. We act like this. But the pure devotee, like Pṛthu Maharaj, he's setting the standard. He's acting only for the pleasure of Krishna. And because he's acting for pleasure of Krishna, he's able to do his duties also perfectly. And there's no karma for that. It's the liberated platform. Pṛthu Maharaj's activities were not
Hare Krishna.
ordinary. Yes.
So
Hare Krishna.
karmani, it's you're doing fruitful activities, is it? That's what it means?
Yes.
Or what?
In this verse, okay, let's see specifically in this verse, what does it mean?
Because it's saying it's significant, so I didn't understand that part.
Okay. Activities.
Okay, so it's
Karmani
not
means
karma. Okay.
Yeah.
Not karma.
No. It is activities. His activities are all for the pleasure of Krishna.
Okay.
So because
So
of
it's
that,
nothing
he
to do
doesn't
with
get reaction.
karma, fruitful activities. So it's nothing to do with fruitful activities, right?
Yeah, that's right. He's on a liberated platform. That's why here Prabhupada is mentioning Pṛthu Maharaj's activities were not ordinary, for they were in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one who is not a devotee, he may think, oh, why Pṛthu Maharaj just a great king? He's an emperor taking care of his subjects, and he's doing his duty. But the devotees can understand that he's a pure devotee. He's doing his duties for the satisfaction of Krishna. So the intention is what is important. Why am I doing a particular thing? What is my intention?
Yeah. Like how when we keep fast or anything, it's like, what is the intention? It's to please, right? For the satisfaction of Krishna.
Yes, yes. Why are we keeping Ekadashi?
Yeah. Because Krishna likes it. It's for pleasing.
Yeah. For pleasure of Krishna, or Janmashtami fast, or anything. Hearing and chanting for the pleasure of Krishna.
Yeah, chanting also, it's for the pleasure of Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And in the same way, doing our duties also, whatever duties we may have, for the pleasure of Krishna. That becomes karma yoga. We each have particular duties. Can't abandon them because we are under the modes of nature. The modes will make us act. So we do our duties for Krishna's satisfaction. And in that way, we can notice we are able to do our duties more better. The more we do our duties for Krishna's satisfaction, the more better we will be able to do the duties. The more we will be able to please everyone. Srila Rupa Goswami has advised that things which are favorable to devotional service should not be rejected, nor should activity favorable for devotional service be considered ordinary work or fruitive activity. For example, an ordinary worker conducts business in order to earn money for his sense gratification. A devotee may perform the same work in exactly the same way, but his aim is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. Consequently, his activities are not ordinary. So a layman who's not able to understand will think both of them are doing the same thing. What's the difference? But a devotee can understand. What's the intention? Well, nobody even needs to know. But Krishna knows. Krishna knows the intention. Pṛthu Mahārāja's activities were therefore not ordinary, but were all spiritual and transcendental, for his aim was to satisfy the Lord. Just as Arjuna, who was a warrior, had to fight to satisfy Krishna, Pṛthu Mahārāja performed his royal duties as king for the satisfaction of Krishna. Indeed, whatever he did as emperor of the whole was perfectly befitting a pure devotee. It is therefore said by a Vaishnava poet, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigne na Bhujaya. No one can understand the activities of a pure devotee. A pure devotee's activities may appear like ordinary activities, but behind them there is profound significance, the satisfaction of the Lord. Yeah, so just as Prabhupada was giving the example, an ordinary worker is doing the same thing, but his intention is that I'm making the money for myself. Similarly, a pure devotee is doing the same work, but his intention is, I want to please Krishna with this. So we may not understand the activities of a pure devotee. In order to understand the activities of Vaishnava,
Like they said that there was there was this example like Prabhupada when the Bhagavad Gita was already there, but it couldn't touch people's heart at that time. But as soon as the Bhagavad Gita as it is came, it was like a wildfire everywhere, and it turned them into pure devotees. The one who read it could touch their heart. So that is also here, that though it looked like simple to everybody, oh, ye bhi to another piece of Bhagavad Gita, what's so special? But when people read it, because it was written by a true devotee like Srila Prabhupada. So, and it was as it is. He had just written how it was. So that touched people's heart, and they got connected to Krishna because it gave Krishna consciousness to others also. So the Mahatma, a pure devotee, has that much power, because he can only give bhakti to others, right? So that's what they're trying to connect here. Is it?
Yeah. Anyway, Bhagavad Gita, if anyone is translating, should be as Krishna spoken.
Yeah, but it wasn't that time.
Yeah. So because as Prabhupada said, then they should keep a different title of the book. Choose another title. Don't borrow Krishna's title. So he remained, okay. Pṛthu Mahārāja did not allow himself to function outside the institution of 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. Although as a Vaishnava, he was a Paramhamsa, transcendental to all material activities. He remained in his position as a Kshatriya to rule the world, and at the same time remained transcendental to such activities by satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's a Paramhams. He's a pure devotee. He's a Vaishnava. But he's saying that, okay, Krishna wants me to do this service, so I will do it for the pleasure of Krishna. Not easy, no? That manage so many people, citizens, fighting, taxes, protection, leadership, administration, so many things. That also of the whole world. So he's not saying I will retire only and go to the forest to do my bhajan. But he's saying, no, Krishna wants me to be the emperor of the world. So let me be that for the pleasure of Krishna. Concealing himself as a pure devotee, he externally manifested himself as a very powerful and dutiful king. In other words, none of his activities were carried out for his own sense gratification. Everything he did was meant for the satisfaction of the senses of the Lord. This is clearly explained in the next verse. So, Anyabhinashita Shunyam. Everything for the pleasure of Krishna. So then we can give the example of Srila Prabhupada, that everything he did was for the pleasure of Krishna. He followed the order of his spiritual master. I'm sorry?
Yeah, no, like Maharaj Pṛthu is a Satyavesh avatar, but he set an example of how to be a pure devotee, right?
Yes. Yes, that's right.
This is an embodied expansion, but then he came to show like how, right? To be.
Yes. Yes, that one can do their material duties and yet become pure devotee of Krishna. Yes, he's been a wonderful example. Because each of us have different duties to perform in society. And not all of us can go to the forest. So yes, he's setting a very wonderful example. Phalam Brahmani Sanyasya.
Phalam Brahmani
Sanyasya.
Nirvisanga Samahita.
Nirvisanga Samahita.
Karmadhyaksham cha manvanam.
Karma adhyaksham cha manvana.
Atmanam prakrite param.
Atmanam prakrite param.
Pṛthu Mahārāja completely dedicated himself to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transcendental to material nature. Consequently, all the fruits of his activities were dedicated to the Lord, and he always thought of himself as the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of everything. So the upadhi, the designation, he's not thinking, I'm a human being, I'm an emperor, I'm a male, I'm born in this family. No, he's always thinking of himself as the servant of Krishna. So he's situated in his constitutional position. And that's how he's engaging in pure devotional service. The life and dedication of Pṛthu Mahārāja in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead serve as a good example of Karma Yoga. The term Karma Yoga is often used in Bhagavad Gita, and herein Mahārāja Pṛthu is giving a practical example of what Karma Yoga actually is. The first requirement for the proper execution of Karma Yoga is given herein. Phalam Brahmani Sanyasya or Vinyasya. One must give the fruits of his activities to the Supreme Brahman, Parabrahman, Krishna. So as Krishna is saying, whatever you're doing, you do it for me. So here Pṛthu Mahārāja, whatever he's doing it for Krishna. That is Karma Yoga. That we continue doing whatever we need to do and offer the result to Krishna. By doing so, one actually situates himself in the renounced order of life sannyas. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.2, giving up the fruits of one's activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called sannyasa. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam kavayo viduhu sarvakaram phalatyagam prahustyagam vichakshana. To give up the results of all activities is called renunciation, tyag, by the wise. And that state is called the renounced order of life, sannyas, by great learned men. Although he was living as a householder, Pṛthu Mahārāja was actually in the renounced order of life, sannyas. This will be clearer in the following verses. So Prabhupada is helping us understand that Krishna, what is he saying, is the definition of sannyas. Sannyas doesn't mean merely changing our dress, that somebody was wearing saffron robes. No, but what is the intention? With what intention is he doing every activity? Like we were saying, Srila Prabhupada, is every activity is for the pleasure of Krishna. He's a pure devotee of Krishna. So everything he did was for the pleasure of Krishna. All the temples, all the books. He said, I'm just following the order of my spiritual master. And it's all for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is real renunciation. So here, Srila Prabhupada is helping us understand Pṛthu Mahārāja, although he is a grahast, he is in sannyas order because he's not attached to the results. He's doing everything for Krishna's pleasure. The word nirvisanga, uncontaminated, is very significant because Maharaj Pṛthu was not attached to the results of his activities. In this material world, a person is always thinking of the proprietorship of everything he accumulates or works for. When the fruits of one's activities are rendered to the service of the Lord, one is actually practicing karma yoga. See, what happens is when we are doing some work, we are attached to what we are going to get out of that work. You get attached to it. It could be anything. You get attached to name, fame also. Like, what am I going to get if I do this thing? You're always looking for that. And we get attached to the result. That's what keeps us here in the material world. So, again, Prabhupada is saying that when one works and offers the result to Krishna, when one works, does his duties for the pleasure of Krishna, that is karma yoga. Anyone can practice karma yoga, but it is especially easy for the householder who can install the deity of the Lord in the home and worship him according to the methods of Bhakti Yoga. This includes 9 items: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping the deity, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as a friend, and sacrificing everything for him. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atmanavedanam, Bhagavatam 7.5.23. So Prabhupada is saying that the householder can also do karma yoga. He's saying it is for the householder, and worship the deity. Keep the deity, offer the results of the work to the deity. We want to eat something, we cook, we offer to Krishna and eat. Hearing about Krishna, chanting Krishna's names, remembering. In this way, we can do karma yoga. Is that okay? We can continue with the rest of the purport tomorrow.
Okay.
Or isn't it? Because it's a little longer.
I mean, if you want, like if everybody's okay, we can finish this because anyways we'll be reading. So
yeah, I'm okay with anything, as whatever you all say.
Yeah, I'm also okay with it.
Yeah, I think we should finish it so there'll be a connectivity.
Yeah. So in one's home or in a temple, the deity is considered the proprietor of everything, and everyone is considered the deity's eternal servant. The Lord is transcendental, for he is not part of this material creation. So in the home, if we can install the deity as the owner, the proprietor, and everyone is considered as a servant of the deity. So Krishna, he's not a part of the material creation. He exists before the creation, no? Even Shankaracharya says that Narayana existed before the creation. So Krishna is transcendental. The words Prakriti Param are used in this verse because everything within this material world is created by the external material energy of the Lord. But the Lord himself is not a creation of this material energy. The Lord is the supreme superintendent of all material creations, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10. We are having this material bodies. The material nature is giving us this material body. She does not create the living entity, though. The souls are not created by the material energy. Souls are put inside the material world by Krishna. Similarly, material energy does not give Krishna a body. Krishna comes in his own form, own transcendental form. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagat vipari vartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all the moving and unmoving beings. And by its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, who is the, we say universal energy, universal law. And Krishna is saying, working under my direction. All the laws that we have, laws of gravity, the laws of whatever, there's so many laws. Who is the lawmaker? It's Krishna. Material nature, he's saying, is working under my direction, Mayadhyakshena, under my supervision. All the material changes and material progress taking place by the wonderful interaction of matter are under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Events in the material world are not taking place blindly. If one always remains a servant of Krishna and engages everything in his service, one is accepted as Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even during his lifetime within the material world. So everything is happening under Krishna's plan. There's no coincidences. Krishna is the controller. He's arranging everything. That's why Prabhupada is saying, events are not happening blindly here. They're all happening under the master director, and that is Sri Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying how one can become a Jivan Mukta. How can one become liberated even while in the present body? Even while in the present body in the material world is to understand oneself as servant of Krishna and engage everything in Krishna's service. Always working for the pleasure of Krishna. Generally, liberation takes place after one gives up this body. But one who lives according to the example of Pṛthu Mahārāja is liberated even in this lifetime. So Prabhupada is saying we don't have to wait to become liberated. We can become liberated right away. Follow the footsteps of Pṛthu Mahārāja. Do our duties, do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. In Krishna consciousness, the results of one's activities depend on the will of the Supreme Person. Indeed, in all cases, the result is not dependent on one's own personal dexterity, but is completely dependent on the will of the Supreme. That's why also Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, you do your duty. You don't be attached to the result. You do your duty. Don't bother if you're going to lose or win, victory or defeat, gain or loss. Just do your duty. What happens to us is we get attached to the result. No, this should be the result. This should be the outcome. That's when we start suffering. But if we can just simply understand, oh, my duty is just to do the duty, not to dictate what the result is going to be, then we can be peaceful. This is the real significance of Phalam Brahmani Sanyasya. A soul dedicated to the service of the Lord should never think of himself as the personal proprietor or the superintendent. You see, because we are not the controllers, we are not the proprietor. Although we think we are, that's the illusion. And that's why we think that the result should be as I'm saying it should be. But the result, many of the times, is completely different than what we want. And when we are not able to accept that, then that creates the stress, that creates the anxiety in us. A dedicated devotee should prosecute his work according to the rules and regulations described in devotional service. The results of his activities are completely dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. That's why a pure devotee, he says, just engage me in service. He's not attached to what is going to be the result of the service. Just serve, like Lord Caitanya is saying, Yare dekha tare kaha Krishna Pradesh. You just tell everyone about Krishna. Don't be attached to the result, what happens, what does not happen. You just do your duty. Here's the results to Lord Caitanya. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So it's the same teaching what Krishna is giving to Arjuna and Bhagavad Gita. Here Pṛthu Mahārāja is doing the same thing. Acting for the pleasure of Krishna, doing his duties for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakti Ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.